welcome to the March 8th Father, Son, and Holy Sport NFL show, everybody. I'm G-Man. That there is T-Money. What's up, T?
What's going on, G-Man? A lot of stuff getting heated up here with the franchise tag deadline passed. Now we're getting into free agency coming here shortly. Going to be a wild few weeks leading up to the draft here in the next month or two.
Who said there isn't excitement going on in March, man, in the NFL? We're bringing it to you guys all live. What about this guy behind me, T-Money, Anthony Richardson, lighting it up at the NFL Combine? Did you see him on that 4.43 man? Fourth fastest time among quarterbacks since 2003.
Yeah, crazy. Dude just blew away every combine record, highest vertical jump ever, highest broad jump ever. He just was racking up all the elite characteristics of a future superstar. But can he throw? He wasn't that great there at Florida. He just has insane talent. So really it's going to come down to, can he get drafted to the right place and can they develop him into more of a pocket passer? So going to be interesting.
That is true. That is true. But man, 6'4", 244, you got to be just dying to get a guy like that on your team, man.
Yeah, seriously.
And free agency start next week, man. Free agency March 15. And we're going to start seeing some deals going down. We already seeing some things happening already as people get ready for next week and the deadline. Hey, let's roll, T-Money. Everybody do us a favor, press that like and subscribe. We're moving out there on the social markets, T-Money, getting a lot of looks, a lot of love. And we love you too, everybody. Hey, press the like and subscribe. We appreciate your support, man. Let's go to the NFL rundown, T-Money. You know, I got a few things to talk about. And let's start off with the New Orleans Saints, T-Money. They grabbed one of the biggest prizes so far this offseason. They get Derek Carr to be their starter. What do you think, man? Great fit for the Saints and Derek Carr?
Oh, man, this one's kind of interesting, right? Like, I don't know what the Saints' ultimate goal is because they have over $40 million in dead cap money every year because they just keep borrowing from the future from when they went in with Drew Brees. So I personally think they should have torn this thing down and then rebuilt because they're no closer to a Super Bowl with Derek Carr. But at the same time, I understand why Derek Carr went there. He got more money and about 2 years guaranteed, three potentially, $35 million a year. Like, I get why Derek Carr went there, and I sort of get why the Saints are going all in. The division is horrible, right? Carolina doesn't know who their quarterback is. You got Tom Brady out of town, so Tampa's got Kyle Trask. And then the Falcons just aren't that great, you know? So I get going in, but at the same time, as I said, what's the point of going all in if you can't win a Super Bowl? And so I get the move. I understand it from both sides. I don't know how the Saints have that type of money. I just don't get it. They're in cap hell. But I get why Derek Carr did it. In the end, I think it was a bad move personally for the Saints. Good for Derek Carr to get paid, but I understand it. I'm just kind of like meh about the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I like when you get fired up, T-Money. Hey, well, I agree with you there. I'm agreeing with what you're saying. And, you know, last year in the AFC West, Carr faced great defenses. He had the Chargers and the Broncos held opposing offenses to less than 200 yards per game. And they faced Kansas City's D. So tough defenses. Now he goes, like you said, against Carolina and Atlanta, who give up more than 227 yards a game. And so now he's got this division that's a lot more palatable for him to attack.
Yeah.
And outside the division, 5 of his 9 opponents outside the division give up a lot of yards to opposing offenses. He could have a great season.
Yeah, I think he can. And look, another thing to think about, like, I just think this was a bad move for the Saints. They need to rebuild. But fine, if you're going to go all in, I understand it. I like the move. Fine. But I think for Derek Carr, you got to think he's got to be thrilled to not only get out of his division, he doesn't have to play Sean Payton and Russ, and he doesn't have to pay Herbert and Chiefs again, and he's out of the AFC. He's in the easier NFC. This team's easily going to make the playoffs now. And I mean, I know that they're a little top heavy with, you know, the Cowboys, Eagles, Niners, but after that, like it's kind of wide open. So I understand the move. I get it.
Yeah.
The Saints don't want to rebuild, and I'm fine with that. So I like the spot for Derek Carr. Good for him for getting paid. Easy winnable division. And you're in the NFC now. You're out of that crazy division. So good for Carr. I'm happy for him. I didn't like the Jets fit anyways. So I think this was a surprise, but a good move.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, looking at those other teams in that division, I mean, it's a winnable division for everybody. And will Atlanta or Carolina, who both have top 10 draft picks, will they move up and try to grab a great quarterback? Because right now, Derek Carr is the best quarterback in the division. Will he remain that after the draft team money? Will be interesting.
I think he still will. He still will.
Also, the word is that Atlanta may still pursue Lamar Jackson. I have not heard a no from Atlanta yet on Lamar.
Well, they came out and said publicly they're not interested, but that's a lie. I think they don't want to show their hand that they're interested. I think Carolina and Atlanta should be going after Lamar right now. I think he would be a great signing for both of them because, like I said about Carr, this is a winnable division. If Lamar Jackson goes to either of those teams, they are the favorite in the division immediately. So I think that would be a mistake if they didn't. But yeah, even if they draft someone, both these teams, Atlanta probably won't because they have Ritter, and that guy's elite. We all know that. Not that I'm biased or anything.
Cincinnati boy, team money.
I think either way, Carr's got this division locked up right now, so good for him.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the first overall pick, Chicago Bears. All right, they got a lot of question marks. They got the most cap space in the league. They got Justin Fields at quarterback. What should they do with that first pick, G? Draft a QB? Trade down? Draft a defensive lineman? Where's your head at with Chicago's draft strategy right now?
Listen to me, Chicago Bears. I told you last year, you're too complacent, man. Let's go build this team. Let's build some assets for Justin Fields. You keep Justin Fields. Justin Fields is better than any quarterback you're going to get in the draft, or just at least as good. And he's proven he can play in the NFL. Don't take a chance on somebody else. You got the guy. Now, let's trade down and get some assets for Justin. I hear people saying, oh, let's trade down and get a defensive lineman like Jalen Carter. No, you get some top assets in that first top 10 picks, man, that can go with Justin Fields. You keep Justin, you get him some studs, man.
Yep, I agree with you. I think they should trade down. I mean, there's scenarios where they can trade down with Houston and get to number 2. Yeah. Then they can trade down to 4 and trade with the Colts from 2. And then from there, they can trade down to like 9 when trading down with Carolina. Like there's a scenario where they trade down 3 times, still have a top 10 pick, and can get a ton of second, thirds, and maybe a late first. I think that they should do that, man. Go all in, because this team needs a rebuild still. They're not good at drafting offensive players historically. So I think just getting as many shots at this draft as you can is the right way to do it. But what? If I'm them, I would do all this drafting, moving down, yada, yada, yada. And then I'd go get Lamar Jackson. I would go get Lamar Jackson. I bet you can get a first for Justin Fields from, let's say, someone like Tampa Bay, Washington Commanders. Could you get a first for them? And then now you're trading, you go get Lamar, you have the most cap space. All right. You sign a bunch of free agents, you sign them to a massive deal, and you kickstart this thing. I would do that. You get a bunch of draft picks for trading down. You get draft pick for trading Justin Fields. You go get Lamar Jackson, and you flip this franchise on a dime in one off season.
I don't know that I would grade Lamar Jackson that much higher than Justin Fields now.
Let's pump the brakes on the comparisons here. All right. Lamar Jackson is an NFL MVP. Chicago had the worst record in the NFL. Let's just pump the brakes.
Yeah, well, that's right.
That's pump the brakes.
There's nothing around Justin Fields to allow him to become.
Who's the best receiver that the Ravens have?
That's my point. Look at
both teams. Of both teams.
Yeah, both teams, right.
Okay. Lamar's doing it. without the same help.
Okay, well, I think Lamar is a way too expensive option. They got a guy that's almost as good as him and has the potential to get there.
Fair
That would be
enough.
a lot less money. But I going back to that draft, I do think the top two positions in that draft will be quarterbacks. People are going to trade up, so I
Yeah.
like the double trade down thing where they trade down to number 2 and then sell that again because someone else wants the quarterback, and
Yeah.
all of those quarterbacks did well at the combines. So those quarterbacks are going at least 1-2. They can make the double trade down, like you said, and make that happen. I love that.
Yeah. I think either way, do that for sure. I'm just throwing Lamar out there as my personal option. But yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that would be a smart move. Trade down as many times as you can. Try to keep one of your draft picks in the top 10, top 15, and then just gather up a bunch of late first, seconds, and thirds.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, let's go. Let's talk about the Bucs, man. Let's see what's going on there. The Buccaneers currently projected to be 55 million above the salary cap, which is worse than the NFL. They have the worst cap in the NFL. They have to get cap compliant team money. Looking at Mike Evans, in order to get there, should they trade him?
Yes.
Woo.
This team needs to tear this thing down now. All right. You went all in. You got a Super Bowl. Congratulations. All right. The Rams are trying to keep this thing going. That's why they're in such inflexible situation right now. But you didn't trade away your firsts, and you have solid players on solid contracts. Do you think the Chiefs would like to have Mike Evans? Because I do. Like, do you think Baltimore and Lamar would like to have Mike Evans? Because I do. Like, there are teams that would love to have this guy on their team. The Indianapolis Colts are probably going to try to go all in. I just think there's definitely places. New York Giants, they need wide receiver help big time. So I think there's places where you could go that Mike Evans would be available for it. Could you get a second? Maybe, a third would be solid. I know he's aging a little bit, but the guy still had a 1,000-yard season. He's still playing elite level football when he's on the field. I mean, Atlanta, Carolina, there's definitely teams out there. Chicago has all the cap space in the world. There are tons of teams that I think would love to have Mike Evans on their team. And the Bucs have Chris Godwin. He's young. You can keep him in your young core. And I would make him my franchise guy moving forward. Give Mike Evans a new shot at starting somewhere new and get a draft pick or two out of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would state it more so. Hey, let's keep our options open. Let's put them out there and see what we get.
Yeah.
When you look at two things, there could be a lot of value in Evans or Godwin. The two reasons are number one, the draft class does not have Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson type player.
Yeah.
So there's no one coming out of the draft like Chase came out last year. Number two, the wide receiver free agency market is light. There's not a lot of great free agents.
It's like Juju.
Put Evans out against all of those guys that we're talking about from the draft and free agency. They could get a lot of value for him or Godwin. I would put Godwin in the mix too, because really Godwin could save them more cap space than Evans if that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I like the idea. I just like Chris Godwin's age a little bit more. He's obviously, what's he right now? He's sorry, I'm looking this up. He's 27 and Mike Evans is 30. So I like Godwin if I'm restarting this thing to be on my team in 2 years' time, 29 years old, getting right into his prime, and I got this thing rebooted and that guy on my team. You have someone solid there. But hey, if someone's willing to give you a first for Chris Godwin, I would take that, and then maybe a second for Mike Evans. So
see what they give you for that.
I like both options. I like that too.
I also think at Tampa Bay's they're not entering outright tank mode. I think they're going to tweak this thing, but they can win this NFC South.
They could.
They've learned that they don't have to be that great to win that division. I don't think they got to blow this thing up, but if they can get a lot for Evans, hey man, let's go get it. Let me tell you something, Team Money. We talked about the 5. I want to get a quick question for you. We talked about the free agents that are out there now at wide receiver. I'm going to give you the top 5 based on one of my sources. You tell me which one you would like to have on your team. Okay? None of them are at Evans caliber.
No.
So you tell me out of these top 5, who you would take on your team? Number 1, Juju. Number 2, Jacoby Myers. Number 3, Odell Beckham. Number 4, Michael Thomas. Number 5, Alan Lazard. You want any of those guys on your team?
I think Michael Thomas has to get cut, and I think he's going to be on the Saints this year. I don't think they're going to cut him. My guy I would want is Jacoby Myers. I think he is a really good route runner. I think he was underutilized at the Patriots. I think he has even more potential because of how bad their quarterback play was. He's only 26 years old, and I think he could be elite. Juju seems to be somehow already over the hump and out of his prime. He looks nothing like he did a few years back when he was with Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh. Yeah. So I like Jacoby Myers out of those guys.
The guy. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I like Jacoby.
But like you said, very weak class there. Like
none of them are number one receivers.
Someone could easily give you a first for Godwin or Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to move on to my next question here, G.
Yeah.
Geno Smith signed his big contract with the Seahawks. What are your thoughts on the contract here? And was it a good decision to re-sign Geno?
Absolutely. Geno, nice job, man. 3-year, $105 million contract, $40 million guaranteed at signing. Yeah, that's a fair contract. He had the best year of his career. And he's in his 10th year. He led the NFL in completion percentage. I love it for Geno. I love it for Seattle. They finished 9-8. They beat the Rams in the division. They beat the Cardinals. This Seattle team made the playoffs, and they probably are going to do it again, T-Money.
Yeah. I mean, the NFC is so weak that they could definitely make it again. I think they had a great draft. If they could get another good draft in there, they got 2 first-rounders. I really like this contract. And, it wasn't too much money. They got him for pretty cheap. If you look over the course of 2 years, I think it's like $35 million a year at the most. So I really like the number when you look at teams paying the likes of Daniel Jones $40 million. So I love the deal for them. And specifically, I like the option of drafting a quarterback like Anthony Richardson in your background there. Okay. They have a top 5 pick here. All right. Top 5 pick. And that guy is very raw. He needs to sit for a year, maybe 2. And so I love Seattle, and I'm just picturing 2 years from now, Geno they cut, and, he had a solid season again, but Anthony Richardson's ready to come in, and they got that guy at quarterback who's a freak. They got Kenneth Walker at running back, who's amazing. And they got DK Metcalf, who's a freak in nature as well at receiver, with a young startup defense. I really like the direction Seattle is headed. And if they can pull off a solid Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, let them sit for a year at number 5 in the draft here, I think that would be a great option for them moving forward if they make the smart decision in the draft. But good for Geno Smith. Happy for the guy. Way to have a career resurgence. Not often you see things like that in the NFL. Usually guys get the boot or don't get enough chances. So really, really exciting stuff from him, and good for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and Seattle really showing it, as you alluded to, delivering on the draft last year. 5 starters on both sides of the ball for that team.
Yeah.
Pro Bowler Tariq Woolen led the NFL, 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
And they got both of their offensive tackles and Kenneth Walker, who led the NFL rookies in rushing. That was their draft last year.
Insane.
Those guys really bringing it. And now they go into this draft, and they've got picks again. They got the number 5 pick, and they got 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders this year. Could they do it again? This team's on the move.
Man, when you say it like that with all that, man, they had a hell of a draft last year. If they can hit a few more home runs, this team is set up for the next 4 or 5 years with that young talent on cheap options. They don't go over the top with Geno Smith. You sign a few bigger free agents, on the offensive line, or, maybe Mike Evans goes there. I mean, that would be a great option, to really bolster this team on defense or offense the next few weeks. Bobby Wagner, a linebacker or something again, a little homecoming. I don't know, but yeah, love the move. Good for the Seahawks. I think they're headed in the right direction when everyone thought they'd be up for the first pick. So good for them.
Hey, good point. Say, let's move on to Orlando Brown, the 6'8", 340-pound left tackle of the Chiefs. Has not been locked down by the team, T-Money. He officially becomes a free agent next Wednesday. T-Money, how bad is this news, and could Orlando walk away?
I think he's going to get a big contract. I do. I think someone like Chicago might throw him all the money in the world.
From someone else, he's going to get a big contract.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be back at the Chiefs. I think this was a really tough decision for the Chiefs here because they had one of the best offensive lines in the league. They actually have their other tackle up as well, so they could lose both tackles in free agency. They could be in trouble here. I think you could trade for someone like Cam Robinson from the Jags. He's a tackle that's probably going to get cut due to cap options. So I like the Chiefs to do something like that. They're definitely going to address it in the draft, probably draft multiple tackles. Like I said, their left tackle and right tackle are up as free agents. So this could be a little scary going into next year because we know how it was when they didn't have a good offensive line. The past, 3 years when they played the Bucs in the Super Bowl, and then this past, then they get it figured out. In this past year, they have a great team, and the Eagles defense did nothing to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So you can tell how big of a deal the offensive line matters to them. Little scary. I know they're kind of going through a rebuild, even if they won a Super Bowl, but it's tough decisions like this that make them a Super Bowl caliber team. They got to make strategic moves like this, because they got to think about the long-term viability of this team. Patrick Mahomes can win it every year. So I think it's tough, but sometimes these are the things you got to do.
I agree with you. And, I don't have any doubt Andy Reid knows what he's doing, and he's going to make the right moves here. He's showing that he can do it. 2 years ago, they go on to get Orlando Brown. They spent a lot to get him, and they gave up a first-round pick to get him.
Yeah.
But he did deliver. And they got their title. So did they get enough out of that move that they made 2 years ago? I think they probably did. Now they're saying, all right, what can we do? Can we reshuffle the deck here? Can we get some, maybe someone that's a little lower cost that can develop into that tackle?
Yeah.
How do they look in the draft? They had 8 rookies this year, T-Money, that played significantly in terms of number of snaps this year. So they got a big contribution this year from their rookies, and I think they go into that draft and pick up some more guys.
Yeah.
They're going to kill the draft this year. They got 9 draft picks, man. They're going to come out of the draft, and you're going to say that was one of the best top 3 teams in the draft. Kansas City, because they got so many doggone picks.
Yeah, they got a ton of picks here from that Tyreek Hill trade. I think I think that's what they're thinking. You take 2 or 3 swings at the tackle position in the draft. You maybe go sign a lower level free agent, someone that you think has potential, or you could slot at right guard. And you hope Patrick Mahomes can, create some magic as he does in the past. So, there's a lot of teams out there that don't have elite pass rushes that end up deep in the playoffs, right? Like the Jets or the Bills. Those teams don't have elite pass rushes, but they have elite defenses and back ends and safeties. Now, if you go up against like the Bucs had or Philly had last year, those are good defenses. The Niners, those are good defensive fronts, and you're going to be hurting without a guy like Orlando Brown. So it is a risk, but I understand with Patrick Mahomes, you can pretty much win every game as long as you're within 10 points.
Hey, last year in the AFC Championship game, Kansas City started 3 rookie cornerbacks.
Crazy.
McDuffie, Williams, and Watson. 3 rookies at QB, and they win the game. I mean, that's pretty impressive, man. And I think they're going to do it again. And last year, they traded Tyreek. Everybody flipped out, and Tyreek is a big loss. But they substitute him with Juju and MVS, and Mahomes pretty much breaks all the records that he had before.
Crazy.
He gets the MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Lombardi Trophy with Juju and MVS filling in for Hill. That's pretty amazing. And as long as Reed and Mahomes are together, this dynasty rolls on, man.
I agree.
Hey, man. Hey, wait. Oh, so hold on, T-Money. I got cousin Randy. Cousin Randy is coming to us live. I don't know where he's at, man. He's probably in Jamaica in some hotel room, man. But let's go. Let's go up to cousin Randy right now.
Hey, welcome into this week's Chug and Chan. It's cousin Randy here, and I got a chant for you purple people eaters. All right, let's get this chug in, and then let's chant. All right, Ravens fans, you better get ready because Lamar's not going to be on your team anymore. And Ravens GM and coaching staff, let him go. Don't match his offer. All right, you've done enough damage to this guy. He's won an MVP. He's led your team to playoffs and playoff wins. This guy's been nothing but a stand-up citizen for you when he was told he should be a wide receiver coming out of college. This man's been great for your culture. You build his offense around him, and you offer him the non-exclusive franchise tag for $32 million so that he can go out and find a trade partner. Tell me you don't like me without telling me you don't like me, I guess, right? Man, just let him walk. Let him go somewhere else, start a new career, and you guys start over. And that's fine. But Danny Dimes just got 4 years, $160 million. And you can't even offer something like that to Lamar. What are you doing, Ravens? Let the guy walk. All of the NFL wants you to see you split now. All right? And cousin Randy, as a Bengals fan, is quite happy that he might leave the division. But a side note, Ravens, this was it. You enjoyed your last season with Lamar, all-time talent, still MVP caliber, but he's gone. G-Man team money? Should the Ravens just let this guy walk and take the 2 first-rounders?
Oh, hey, Randy, coming to you, talking about the Purple People Eaters team money. Purple People Eaters were Minnesota Vikings, weren't they?
They might be. I don't even know.
Purple People Eaters, they invented the line, I'll meet you at the quarterback. The D-line from Minnesota from the 60s. That's a great saying, man.
That's funny.
Hey, man, I know. It's that Lamar Jackson situation is tough. I think they're testing the market, man. They're taking a chance, yeah, but I think they're testing the market. The fact that, no one's jumping in is really interesting, but I think they're just trying to see what's out there. I think that they're probably going to call his bluff. They're going to call his bluff, and he wants the same contract as Deshaun Watson and T-Money when you look back at the quarterback deals, including Deshaun Watson, but also Russell Wilson and Derek Carr, and you can go down the list. There's been some real failures in some of these deals for quarterbacks, and there are some risks with Lamar. So I think this is costing some promise for Lamar.
Yeah, I think he's going to get something a little more short-term. I could see him getting $50 million a year for 3 years, something like that, where it's not as long-term commitment to a guy that is a little more injury prone, but he gets a fully guaranteed deal. Kirk Cousins got a 3-year fully guaranteed deal. I know it was only like $95 million, but at the time that was pretty significant. So I can see something like that happening where he gets $52 million a year for 3 years and he walks. But I think the Ravens got to let him go, man. Too much animosity at this point. I think he's resentful that they didn't offer him the contract he wanted, and it sounds like they were hundreds of millions of dollars apart, from what the reports say. So, just let him walk here. You get 2 firsts out of this, and you can reset your team.
Deshaun had $230 million guaranteed, and from what I understand, they offered Lamar $130 million guaranteed. So it's a $100 million gap. And the guaranteed money is the difference in this negotiation. Yeah. I don't think the bridge is burnt too much to bring this thing together.
I mean, I wouldn't want to work for the Ravens if I was Lamar. Let's just say that.
Why is that? Why did they just negotiate?
I deserve my money. Why is Daniel Jones getting that money? Why is Deshaun Watson? I'm better than Deshaun Watson. I won an MVP. I've won an MVP. I've won an MVP.
This is more guaranteed money than any of those guys. $130 million.
Deshaun Watson. Not Deshaun Watson, not Kyler Murray. I deserve more money than all these guys. I'm sorry.
Deshaun Watson did not work out, and that was not a good deal. You got to admit that was not a good deal.
That's what he wants. I don't know what to tell you. If that's what he wants.
I don't know why he's mad, though, about it.
Because he's won an MVP, and they're disrespecting him.
Hey, he's a running quarterback, okay? Last year in week 13, he goes out with a knee injury, missed the last 6 games, including the playoffs. So he's got some risk here that he's a running quarterback, and he was injured with a knee injury. And here's the other thing, T-Money. The Ravens, have selected 4 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft going back to 2018, and none of these guys have worked out. I'm talking about Boykin, Hollywood Brown, Duvernay, and Rashad Bateman. They've all failed to become a receiver. And why is that, T-Money? Lamar keeps throwing over the middle to his tight end. I just don't know. Maybe it's him. Why these receivers aren't developing.
I disagree. Hollywood Brown had a 1,000-yard season with Lamar. I think it's the offense they ran, and I think that the receivers are not elite enough to get separation. Like, if they had DeAndre Hopkins on their team, Lamar just has to throw it in his catch radius, and that guy's catching it, right? There's some difference makers. Look at Tua and Jalen Waddle. They just throw 5-yard slants, and then they run to the end zone.
Do something like that.
I understand, but they don't have that kind of talent at receiver. And that's on, like you said, the GM not drafting the right way. So I think they tried to do that with Hollywood Brown, but he just couldn't take that next step. But they were smart to get a first out of him from Arizona. That was genius. But I think this bridge is pretty much burnt. I can somehow see him coming back because he doesn't get the offer he wants, or the Ravens match because it's not that crazy of an offer. I can see him coming back, but it's going to be an interesting few weeks here because he can try to get a deal done before the draft with a team like, let's say Seattle had, not signed Geno. They had 2 first-round picks. They could have given up 1 this year, still had a draft pick, given up their 1 next year. There's, definitely teams with multiple draft picks that should be interested in this because you have to give up 2 first-rounders to sign Lamar with this non-exclusive franchise tag. So those are the teams I like to keep an eye out for as well. If you have multiple draft picks this year or next year, signing Lamar to something bigger won't hurt you as much because you still have that draft capital.
Any team can negotiate with Lamar, but the Ravens have the opportunity to counter offer.
Yeah.
Hey, Jackson's only the 4th quarterback in the past 23 years to get franchise tag. Did you know that, T-Money?
Crazy.
The other 3 did not play more than 2 seasons with the team that tagged them. So long term, he's with the odds, he's not going to be a Raven.
Yeah, he's not going to be.
Hey, we hope you're loving the Father Son Holy Sport NFL show, man. Hey, if you're looking for segments and clips, check us out. We're on all the social platforms at Father Son and Holy Sport, and check out our website. You can get merchandise, baby. FatherSonandHolySport.com. On behalf of T Money, I'm G-Man. See you next week.
All right. Peace.